Hello, and welcome back to the Academic Writing Amplified podcast. I'm your host, Kathy Mazak, and we are maybe we're at the end now. I think this will be the last episode in my self-coaching series for academics. So if you want to listen to the whole series straight through, you'll need to go back a few episodes there. Especially, I would love for you to make sure that before you listen to any other episodes, you listen to the What is Coaching and What is Self-Coaching episode, which was the first one in this series. So today we're going to be talking about the relationships between thoughts and emotions. And this is a key kind of area of learning, of discussion, of growth inside of the coaching world. And it's definitely something that my own clients have come to me and said, like, yeah, I would really like not to have like a panic attack when something happens at work that I'm not expecting, or I would really like to stop my racing thoughts in the middle of the night about work things. And I am not going to guarantee you in any way that you will do that by the end of this podcast or learn how to do that by the end of this podcast. But I am going to talk about what are some things that you can do to get started, because it is absolutely a practice to kind of regulate your emotions. And I also want to really emphasize, like, I have a little resistance to the idea of regulating emotions in the sense that I think women are often taught to regulate their emotions or that they're emotional, which the older I get, I find that regulating emotions is not something that people of a specific gender need, but that all humans need, because really our brains do all kinds of nasty things to us when we are trying to live our daily lives and operate in a way that is calm and effective. So today we're talking all about emotions and thoughts. And before we get started, I want to remind you that this summer, I am kicking off the summer with a 2-week intensive version of my program that helps you publish your backlog of papers, which is called Navigate. So at the end of this episode, I'm going to talk about Navigate. You will also hear the Navigate information session in this feed coming up soon. So if you want information, you can go to scholarsvoice.org/navigate, and you will find all the information about the program there, including its costs and the application process. You can put your application in now. If you are thinking about asking for professional development funding for the program, definitely put your application in now. That gets you kind of in our world and lets me know that you're interested in the program, and then I can help you to make that funding request with some template letters and advice and that kind of thing. Okay, so at the end of this episode, I'll tell you a little more about the 2-week intensive and what it's a new thing. So I'll get into that newness at the end of this episode. But if you're interested, scholarsvoice.org/navigate. If you'd like more from this, more like this podcast, then you can also go to scholarsvoice.org, scroll to the bottom of the page, and find our sign up box for receiving the In the Pipeline newsletter, which is my weekly newsletter all about academic publishing and writing and career. So definitely go check that out. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about coaching approaches to the relationship between thoughts and emotions. So I really want to emphasize that while these are not unscientific, they are also not, I'm not a psychologist. I don't know about psychology. I know very, very little about psychology. And so these are really, some of these things are grounded in sound, psychological research. But at the same time, like, this is not therapy, as I've said before, and this is not psychology. This is coaching. Okay. So there's two different that I've found so far, two different kind of ways to think about the relationship between our thoughts and emotions. One starts with a trigger, okay, which is something happens, right? Some event, something happens, and you have a feeling about it. That's your emotion. So when I say emotion, I mean things like sad, disappointed, happy, elated, an emotional, a feeling, right? And then you have some kind of thought that emotion makes you have a thought. So, for example, I'll give you an example of a probably a disordered thought that I have, which is that when I'm in an airplane and we hit turbulence, that's the trigger. The turbulence is the trigger. The emotion I have is fear. Okay, so I have a literal fear reaction in my body, like like upset stomach, shaky, nervous, heart racing, like actual physical, like fear reaction. And my thought is the plane is falling out of the sky. Okay, so I will give you a little backstory here. I definitely have a disorder around flying, a phobia, you could call it. Again, like not a psychologist. I've had psychologists tell me different things about it. One, that it's a phobia. I've also had a psychologist tell me that it is post-traumatic stress, which also really makes a lot of sense because I had a very, very bad experience once on an airplane that got hit by lightning. So in fact, I'll tell you specifically why this trigger emotion thought, makes sense as an order for me. Like first the trigger, then you get the emotion, then you get a thought about the emotion, or the emotion triggers thinking. The kind of personal experience I have with that is that the flight after I had the plane struck by lightning flight, I was not scared of getting on the airplane. Like I was not worried about it consciously at all. I went through the security line. I got on the plane. I sat on the plane and I'm like, oh man, maybe I ate something bad or something's wrong with me. Maybe I'm getting sick. Like I didn't consciously have a thought that was like, I'm scared to fly again. It was literally my body's reaction to being on the airplane. And since that flight, the flight after the terrible flight, which was, by the way, the year I graduated from college in 1996. So, it's been a while I've been dealing with this. From then on, I have like the physical reaction, like panic attack, like that kind of thing. So the first time, though, I very distinctly remember, I can picture it in my mind. I very distinctly remember that I didn't have a conscious thought. I thought I was ill. I thought I had eaten something bad. I was like, what is up? Maybe I'm having a heart attack. And then after, I realized, oh, I'm scared of being on this plane. And so that's an example of trigger, emotion, thought, where the thought comes after the emotion. Okay. And again, like maybe that's disordered. I don't know. Psychologists, you can write in and tell me. There's another way of thinking about the relationship between our emotions and our thoughts, which I have found to be helpful, although it would not have helped me in the situation that I just described. And I also think for disordered thinking, I'm not sure if it's like completely helpful all the time. I think there are cases where it is unhelpful. I just want to always say that caveat. I don't want to present this model as a cure for anything or everything, but rather as an approach to begin observing the relationship between your emotions and your thoughts and how changing your thinking can start to help you regulate your emotions. Okay, so here we go. So this is called the model. It comes out of the Life Coach School, which was founded by Brooke Castillo. It is a coaching approach or a way of coaching that has anchored her, life coaching practice and her certification in life coaching for the last at least 10 years, if not 15 or longer than that. And here's how it goes. She doesn't use the word trigger. She uses the word circumstance. Okay. Circumstance is a objectively true thing. It's like if we were in a court of law, the circumstance is what the judge would say is like objectively true. Okay. So I'm going to give you examples of this because also we're not going to get into a philosophical debate about truth and objectivity. So that's not, because that is just unhelpful to what we're trying to do here. But I understand that there are also issues with the philosophical, there's a whole philosophical thing behind this that we could have a debate about. But again, what I'm trying to present you with are some tools that might be useful. So here we go. Circumstances, objectively true things that happen. Thought, okay? Those are the sentences inside your brain. That's what Brooke Castillo would say a thought is. It's a sentence inside your brain. Emotion, she would say that it is a vibration in your body. What she means, though, I think, besides the vibration in your body idea, is you have a feeling like anger, sadness, joy, emotions, the way we think of emotions. And then actions. So the actions we take are a result of our emotions. And then the results that we create in the world are a result of our actions. And so actions are things we do, right? And result is the end result of all these things. So I'll say it the way that she talks about it. Our circumstances lead to our thoughts. We have a thought, which is a sentence in our head about our circumstances. And then those thoughts create our emotions inform our actions, and our actions create our results. Okay, so the Life Coach School teaches that you can kind of intervene in these different stages, but that the most powerful place to intervene is in the thought line. So when so changing your thoughts, right? Since your thoughts create your emotions, changing your thoughts can change your emotions. Okay, so let me give you an example of this to make it really clear, and then talk about how you could use this as a tool, or both, either one of these things as a tool, right? Either one of these ways of thinking about the relationship between emotion and thoughts. And why the heck are we talking about this on an academic podcast anyway? That's supposed to be about writing. So I'll also make it very, applicable to writing and career, the academic writing and career, in just a second. So let me give you, though, a non-academic example. So here's a circumstance. I have $500 in my checking account. Okay, that's a circumstance. Now, your thought, the thought about your circumstance creates the emotion, creates the action, creates the result. So I want to give you an example of how that circumstance, and circumstances are neutral facts. So this circumstance is neutral in this sense. Okay, let me explain. $500 in my bank account. If I have that circumstance, then the thought I might have is, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay rent? Or how am I going to pay the mortgage, rather? How am I going to pay the mortgage? And then the emotion that I might have is fear, panic, distress. An action I might take, well, I'll tell you, a real action I took when this happened recently when we were in the house sale, is that I called my real estate agent and I'm like, we're supposed to close on the house on January 23. How am I going to pay rent on January 1? We are out, because we had gotten in this terrible, just because this elongated process of selling the house, we'd gotten in a really crappy financial situation that selling the house solved, but the house wasn't sold yet when I had to pay mortgage on January 1. And so my action was I called my real estate agent crying, what are we going to do? Is this, because I don't make this payment, is the whole deal going to fall through? And the result of that action was that she called the bank. We worked out we worked it out so that that final payment was like taken care of at closing. And so it all worked out fine in the end. But circumstance, $500 in the bank account, thought, panic and distress. Your thought was, oh my gosh, I can't pay the mortgage. Emotion, panic and distress. Action, call the real estate agent. Result, it was resolved, thankfully, but not without a almost complete panic attack on my part. So in that example, I want to avoid the panic attack. Not because the panic attack isn't legitimate, but because it is a very, very uncomfortable feeling and it is debilitating. So I don't want my emotional ramp up to be that severe ever if I can handle it. Okay. If I can prevent it, I'm going to try to regulate my emotions so I don't have that spirally ramp up that happens very, very fast and heads towards panic like very, very quickly. Okay. Another example. Again, this is all about how circumstances are neutral. Let's imagine my 19-year-old daughter who is studying at the university has $500 in her checking account. Her thought could be, ooh, I have enough money to go to Valencia for 2 days with my friends. And then her emotion might be joy, and her action might be she books a hostel and a high-speed rail pass. And the result is that she has a nice little mini break in Valencia. Like that is the way that circumstances are neutral, and that it's a good example of how your thought about the circumstance is really the quote unquote problem, right? Like my thought was, oh my gosh, I can't pay the mortgage. Her thought is, hey, I have money in the bank, because $500 when you're 19 is like a lot of money and it's a totally different experience. Okay. So I'll just say, so again, the original kind of pattern that I described was you have a trigger that triggers an emotion that triggers a thought. And then the Life Coach School version, the model is circumstance, thought. You have a thought about the circumstance, which creates your emotion, which creates your action, which creates your result. So I'm going to use the Life Coach School way of thinking as a tool here, because I think it's more user-friendly as a tool. Okay. And the first step in any kind of self-coaching and any kind of actually change making in your life, like whenever you want to make a change in your life, is observation. So you can use this Life Coach School model to begin to observe the way observe your thoughts and your emotions. So the thing is that you have these, you might not, this happens so fast that it's like unobservable a little bit, right? So the reason that you think like that, your emotions, like that you're very emotional or that your emotions hold you back, part of the problem is that it happens so fast. Like naturally your body, your brain has the thought, it becomes it turns into an emotion. It just happens like boom, boom, boom. And you don't think about them as separate. You kind of collapse the thought and the emotion and the circumstance even. So here's what you can do. And I'm going to apply it to your, to some real academic life examples. Okay. So what we want to start doing is noticing. So noticing or observing, we just start by journaling. Okay. So you just get out a little notebook. What I love is those like little notebooks that are like half the size of an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, like an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper folded in half. And they're only like maybe about like 20 pages long, and you can just use them for like individual things. I just love those little notebooks. So and they fit in your purse. Yeah. get a notebook like that or any piece of paper and write circumstance, thought, emotion, action, result, and leave space next to each one. And you could do that several times on several papers. Actually, I think if you go to the Life Coach School online, you can download a PDF that has that on it and print a few pages of that out. Because like you're going to start by just observing. So let's imagine that you get assigned a class that is happening, like that the hour of the class, the timing of the class is bad, especially for your writing. Okay. So something I teach inside of Navigate is the importance of placing your writing in your most energetic, effective times of day. And so one of the things I talk about is like a lot of people are teaching at their most energetic, effective times of day, and they need to change their schedules so that when they're sitting down to write, they're not sitting down at the most exhausted times of day. So let's imagine that you get assigned a course at a time that you don't want. That's the circumstance. Okay? The circumstance is I got assigned a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 a.m. class. Okay? Then I want you to observe your thought, your emotion, your action, and the result. You might not write them down in that order, right? It might be easier for you to write the emotion than the thought. So for example, you might let's say you got an email from your chair and it's like, oh, hey, I know you wanted to teach only Tuesday, Thursdays, but you are going to teach Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 and at 10:30. So it's like, basically, this would be my nightmare situation. Just because those are my best times, and 3 days a week where like my best writing time is taken up by teaching is a problem. So my emotion about it might be anger. Okay. It might be frustration. It might be despair. I think sometimes we go right into despair about a lot of these things. And so write that down. And then back up to the thought, right? Back up to the thought. Like, what's the thought that's causing that emotion? So let's say it's despair. Let's say you get this email about your teaching times and your emotion is despair. What's the thought that's causing that emotion? Maybe it's, I'll never get these papers done, right? It's like all or nothing, never horrible thought, right? Like now I'll never get this done. Now my pipeline is going to stall out for another semester, right? That's the thought that causes despair. And all you're doing is observing. So then you're going to say then you also need to write what the action and what the result is. So if you feel despair, your action might be to not take action. Your action might be to complain to your partner, to complain around, but not to really like fight it or try to change it, but just like to wallow and feel sorry for yourself. Understandable. That's your action, is inaction. And the result is you spend another semester teaching during your writing time. And all we're doing here is observing. We're observing. Excuse me. Now, the tool part of this. So the first thing is just like starting to do these observations. Okay? And I think the interesting part is figuring out the thought that's causing the emotion. You probably can tap the emotion a little bit more clearly with just a few minutes of thinking than the thought. And then you figure out the thought. And then what we want to do is we want to start thinking about changing our thoughts. Okay? I think this is Stacey Bayman, who is a certified life coach school person. She calls this like intentional thought creation, where you like sit down and you're like, hey, I want to have, you kind of, in life coach school, they call this working the model. So you write down circumstance, thought, emotion, action, result. And let's imagine what you want to do is like publish, submit 3 papers this semester, or submit that paper that's been hanging over your head for so long. You write that in the result line. Okay. And then you work backward, or you work at the different lines in the model to figure out what thoughts do I need to have in order to create that result. So here's an example of how to do it. I'm going to make the result be, okay, what are we in right now? We're in March. I'm going to say by May 30, I'm going to submit this paper that's been hanging over my head for so long. Now, this is a little rough because it's March 24th when I'm recording. So there's actually not that much time. And there's a lot of other things going on. So we're going to have to get real good at our thoughts for this one. All right. Let's back up and say, what's the circumstance? The circumstance is that we have, how many weeks? 8 weeks left. The circumstance could also be, remember, the circumstance is a neutral fact. So we've got 8 weeks left. The circumstance could be my paper has nothing but writing tasks left in it, and I have them listed out. The circumstance could also be that you don't know the state of your paper, Anyway, let's imagine that we put the circumstance as, I have a paper, I want to submit it, I have a task list that's done. So then what thought do I want to choose to have about my circumstance that's going to help me get to my result? Okay, well, maybe my thought is, I have the power to decide how to use my schedule. And that thought gives you the emotion of like go-getter energy and like powerfulness that helps you take the action of holding space in your calendar to get the writing done. Do you see how it works? It's not like scientific, and you don't have to do it perfectly. So that's something that like all y'all who are listening, I love you so much. You try to do things perfectly. You're going to ask a million questions about how you can make using this model perfect that I'm not going to be able to answer because I'm actually not a certified life coach school person. I've just been in a lot of programs with a lot of certified life coach school coaches. So I've been coached this way. So don't try to get it perfect. Use it as a tool to first observe thoughts and emotions, and then think, what kinds of thoughts do I need to be having that help me regulate my emotions, that help me take the actions I need to take for the results that I want? So again, what we're trying to do there is we're trying to have thoughts that produce emotions that are energizing, that are positive, that are helpful. Not positive for the sake of being positive because they are helpful, because then those emotions can help you be more impactful. Okay? So again, like I can't teach you exactly how to, get perfect at using this model in one podcast episode, but I do want to offer it as a tool, and especially as a way for you to think about that relationship between thoughts and emotions, and how there are lots of things that happen to us at work, circumstances at work, that we have certain emotions about. It's time to really observe what thoughts are creating those emotions, and then how might I alter my thinking, right? So I'm again, not a psychologist. I did this really great study though, where I observed like a Psych 101 class. And then I also observed that same professor teaching a neuroscience class, because I was looking at how this professor, because I'm like educational linguistics, right? So I was looking at how this professor used language in teaching the science. It used both languages. And she was really unique because she would let the students like answer the exam in whatever language they wanted. And like, it was a really interesting kind of translanguaging model. That's why I was in that class. I wasn't a student. I was observing for a study. And she had them do these thought change things, right? Where she was like, okay, write 3 positive thoughts down and you're going to, like think those things. So it's not it's not outside the realm of psychology to do these kind of thought change exercises. And I want you to start kind of thinking about how they could help you to regulate your emotions. Now, something else that I want to just say as we wrap this podcast, what we're not trying to do is not feel emotions. Okay. So we're not trying to smush down emotions, stamp down emotions. We're not trying to not feel angry. What we're trying to do instead is to regulate our emotions so that they don't get in the way of, like, they don't stop us or paralyze us from taking effective action that we want to take. So this thought work can help you process emotions faster and actually process them. Because what happens a lot of times is like, we'll have an emotion, something will happen. Okay. Like we get assigned this class, we'll have an emotion about it. And we will spend so much energy trying not to feel that emotion. And so much energy, like trying to like, quote unquote, just get over it. We don't want to just get over it. We want to process it, because processing it is what is going to help you to actually get over it without just smushing it down or it being unprocessed. So the processing of the emotion is like, what is the thought? What is the circumstance and what is the thought that's causing that emotion? And then what kind of actions am I taking based on that emotion? And then what are the results of those actions? It's observing all of that. It's processing it. That a lot of times in a coaching situation, I'm asking somebody will come to the coaching call and say, this happened and I feel like really upset about it. And then my work as a coach is to help them articulate the actual feeling, like find the word for the feeling. It's not just upset. Upset is too vague. Is it wronged? Is it insulted? Is it, like, what's the actual feeling? And then what is the thought that is making you feel that? And that is processing thoughts and emotions. Just that work, without even the actions and the results and everything else, can really help you to diffuse like really sparky emotions that are holding you back, that are causing the racing thoughts, that are paralyzing you from moving forward effectively. Processing that. What is the emotion exactly? What are the thoughts, or what is the thought causing the emotion? So it's in that processing that we're starting to emotionally regulate. Now, there's definitely a whole lot of other things we can do when we're in an actual moment of panic and distress, like especially with breathing and that kind of thing. So I encourage you that if you find that you have been feeling like especially emotionally reactive lately, that you figure out some of those kind of tools. I still remember the quick relax, which was like, I don't know, it's probably called a million different things, but that I learned from a high school guidance counselor about where you would like tense your toes and then let them go. You like tense every muscle from the bottom of your feet to the top of the head intentionally and then let it go as a way to calm your nervous system. I also have found that for me, breathing exercises on a plane are really helpful, because like when you're doing deep breathing and measured breathing, like your those physical reactions can't happen in the same way that they could if you're not doing those breathing exercises. So I encourage you to look into that and find if those, not if they help you, because they will help you, but especially if you are having so much emotional reaction to things that you are spiraling into panic or like severe anxiety, definitely having a toolbox of those kinds of physical ways to calm your nervous system is also like really, really important. So I hope that some of the tools I introduced today, I mean, this is something like basically I have I'm in the development of a whole program about this, but specifically related to academic leadership, how to self-coach yourself through these really difficult decisions, but also emotional circumstances. When you're a leader in academia, that's a program that is in development right now. And I just hope that beginning to observe this relationship between thoughts and emotions can be helpful to you to have a more calm and impactful, effective academic life. All right. Thank you so much for joining me for this self-coaching series for academics. This is the first in a series of series that I'm doing in 2026. And I hope that you enjoyed it. If you have suggestions for a series you would like to see, then please email us at support@scholarsvoice.org. Or if you're on our email list, you can just reply to any one of the emails that we send you. Now, I promised that I would tell you a little bit more about our Navigate Intensive that's happening the last 2 weeks of May. So now I'm going to do that. So if you don't want to hear about the Navigate Intensive, you can stop listening now. Basically what I wanted to do, and this is I'll tell you the honest reason here, is because I really wanted to take time off this summer. Normally, the Navigate program runs 3 times a year and it runs 12 weeks at a time. So I would normally run a cohort that starts end of May and ends end of July. And I actually feel like 10 years ago, the summer, people still in academia talk about summer writing. It was really a time where people wanted to get their writing done in the summer. 10 years ago, 7 years ago. I think post-COVID, people are a little more aware of the fact that they also need to rest in the summer. And I am certainly aware of that. So I decided I was taking June and July off from delivering programs. And I also was starting to get this sense that people didn't want to be in a 12-week long program over the summer. So I decided to create or to deliver Navigate as a 2-week intensive. So what this does is in 2 weeks, so it's May 18th through 29th, Monday through Friday, 2 hours a day, where basically 1 hour is teaching and coaching and 1 hour is co-writing. Roughly, it's not going to be the same every single day. But basically, we will cover all the Navigate material, which is normally delivered during the program as a recorded workshop. And then you come to a live call once a week. So you watch a recording, takes you between 30 minutes and an hour to watch the recording, do the stuff, and then come to the call every Friday for 12 weeks. So I was like, well, I reorganized material and I'm offering one of the weeks as a recorded bonus. So I pulled it kind of out of the curriculum, but everybody's still going to get it. And that let me made it possible for me to deliver the whole curriculum in 10 2-hour sessions. Okay. So I thought, what a great way to make sure that you rest this summer. Kick off the summer with a 2-week intensive where you're going to learn my system for publishing your backlog of papers, which includes 3 main parts. The first part is pipeline and project management. So that's the kind of nitty gritty how to manage all of your writing projects and get them all the way to completion. That's the first third of the work. The second third is time management. So we look at how you're spending your time and what, how it aligns with your academic mission, and we create an ideal week. I mean, this is a great thing to do at the beginning of summer because you can do it kind of like, you can have kind of one version for summer and then, your version for fall. And you have a lot of time to really kind of marinate on changes you're going to make to your schedule for fall and give people heads up and that kind of thing. So time management is the second third, and then your writing practice is the final third of what we learn inside of Navigate. And that's a sustainable writing practice where we talk all about the many tools that you can use and what I call that make up my soaring system, which is like the combination of different approaches to writing, including resilient writing. Okay, so making sure that your writing practice is something you can put down and pick up. It's something that can survive derailments. So all of that is what we talk about inside of Navigate. So imagine starting your summer off that way. And also, like, how much fun, it's fun for me. I hope it's fun for you to be in a room together, like for 2 weeks straight, a virtual room for 2 weeks straight. And like, you get to ask me questions and it's live and interactive rather than a recorded lesson. I also think that's going to be fun. And I know that for me, I'm going to be able to give like my most recent shine up to the curriculum during the 2-week Navigate, because I'll be delivering live. So that means every day I'll be, like in preparation for the delivery, I'm going to be reviewing the slides and everything. And so all the curriculum will be like a little bit shined up and my absolute latest thinking. And you'll get to talk to me all through it. Like you'll get to ask questions and it's interactive. So plus it has a lot more co-writing in it than the 12-week version. In the 12-week version, we alternate coaching and co-writing. And so this is going to have like daily co-writing in it for 2 weeks. So if you have a project, like if you want to start your summer with a submission, like this is a really, really great way to do it by taking the Navigate program. So that's kind of like my initial thoughts about why you should consider joining us for the 2-week Navigate intensive. You can go to scholarsvoice.org/navigate to find out all the information, including pricing, which by the way, is actually less expensive than the 12-week version. So also if you've like looked at the 12-week version and you're like, dang, like, I'm worried that I'm not going to be able to sustain my participation for 12 weeks, then this 2-week version is a good choice for you. If you've looked at the 12-week version and gone like, wow, it's like a little bit expensive, this is a good alternative. This gives you the same program in a different format and at a different price point. So please go and check that out. All right. Thank you so much for being with me today. You can go to scholarsvoice.org/navigate to find out more about Navigate. We are enrolling now. You can apply today, and I will look at your application, and I am the person delivering the program. So if you want to come and learn from me, then I would love to see you inside of Navigate. All right. Have a great day. Bye.